All right, good afternoon, everyone. We all set? Okay. This afternoon, we're going to pick up H 248, which is an act relating to supplemental child care grants and the Child Care Financial Assistance Program. And we have Katie with us to do a walkthrough of the bill. And then we'll be hearing from Janet McLaughlin, who maybe you could contact and see if she might be able to come a little bit earlier, because I doubt Katie's going to take 45 minutes to walk through the bill. So it'd be great if she could come, like, 2:30. Thank you, Katie. Will you join us?
Good afternoon. Katie McLean, Office of Legislative Counsel. Let me share my screen. Yes, we are looking at H 248 pertaining to childcare. So this, I wouldn't call it a technical type bill, but it is because there are substantive policy choices. But it's pretty targeted in the provisions that it's applying to. So we'll just walk through it. The first section applies to the supplemental child care grants that are used historically to help programs that are struggling. So the language would read that the commissioner, I should say before I jump in, the changes in this section are meant to create more flexibility to how the funds can be used. So that's what you're seeing in this section 3505. The Commissioner for Children and Families may reserve up to 1/2% of the Child Care Family Assistance Program funds for extraordinary financial relief to assist child care programs that are at risk of closing due to experiencing financial hardship. I'm going to pause there and just direct you to line 17. When I was doing my read through last night, should be child care. I'm assuming Child Care Financial Assistance Program. I'm assuming this is meant to be CCFAP, but the underlying language does not track that. So potentially technical change there. And then on line 19, the commissioner may provide extraordinary financial relief under this subdivision to both licensed and registered childcare programs and to childcare programs that are in the process of becoming licensed and registered. The commissioner shall develop guidelines for providing assistance and shall prioritize extraordinary financial relief to childcare programs in the area of the state with high poverty and low access to childcare. If a childcare program has closed, or the commissioner determines that a childcare program is at risk of closure because of its operations are not fiscally sustainable, the commissioner may provide assistance to transition children served by the childcare program in an orderly fashion and to help secure other childcare opportunities for children served by the program in an effort to minimize the disruption of services. And the commissioner has authority to request tax returns, etc. So my notes to myself, it's been a long time since I've drafted this. Yeah. My notes to myself on this section was that the language makes the use of the money more flexible. The money can go to a program that's in process of opening. The current language doesn't allow that. Or it can send funds to an open program that's receiving children from a program that is struggling or closing. So more uses for this particular pot of money.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just a clarification, what's the difference between licensed and registered?
Registered. Some of the family child care homes, they could be registered or they could be licensed. And I think the big distinction is how many children are served there, but it's a distinction that CDD makes.
Okay.
That some of those are registered and some of them are licensed depending on size.
Okay, thank you.
And all center-based are licensed.
Yes.
We can, if you need any further clarification, Janet will be here afterwards, the deputy commissioner, so she can answer that question too.
Thank you.
I'm just trying to figure out, this is more of a question for her though. If you are in the process of becoming licensed and you're already in EFR, that in a situation where you need EFR.
I'm wondering, I'm trying to channel what she might say, but
Yeah.
I think it's to get a program started, if a program is needing some assistance to get off the ground, that those funds could be used to initially get the program going.
So So we'll ask her, I mean, there are funds already available to initiate programs, so that's why I'm
What I'm
confused
writing
about that.
down.
Yes.
And the description of the word relief seems strange for something that's starting up.
Yeah, so so we'll ask that question of Janet.
Okay, so that brings us to page 3. This is the Child Care Financial Assistance Program. And in this section, in subdivision A1, we're looking at how CCFAP funds can be used. So the traditional way that we think of using CCFAP funds is as subsidies to families, and the families choose which childcare provider they will attend and use the funds there. So this new language, starting on line 9, is that the program shall support eligible families by either establishing services with a childcare provider with whom the division has contracted or issued a grant for childcare services, or providing a subsidy issued pursuant to subdivision 2. So that language in subdivision B on line 13, that's sort of what we think of as traditional CCFAP. The language in subdivision A is DCF having a direct relationship with the provider and sending funds that way. Again, looking at my notes, that there is some guidance in the existing rule that these type of funds, or that DCF already has some of these relationships, particularly around spots for infants and toddlers, children with disabilities, and underserved areas of the state.
So, okay, I think the question I have is probably more for Janet. Go ahead, Representative.
With respect to the funds that can be used in A
Mhm.
there, that's not limited by the earlier provision that talked about a certain 0.5% or something.
No, these are
Separate.
separate, yeah.
Okay.
Sort of a separate pot of money, at least the way I think of it, CCFAP. And
That was, the rates could be increased, but that was an inflationary factor to raise rates. Didn't necessarily have to do with this
Right.
part of it.
So I'm just confirming what I'm reading is that there isn't necessarily a cap as to how much of CCFAP can be spent in this new language for childcare providers.
Right, yeah, no. One of the things that might be helpful, Katie, would you be willing just to send Lori a link to the full statute? Because I think because people don't have, if they weren't here last biennium, you don't have a background on it. So, or if you were in a different committee. So I think it would be helpful for people to be able to read the full bill.
Okay. And that brings us to bottom of page 4, payment to providers. In section 3, subdivision A1, my understanding is that to comply with federal regulation around paying the subsidy upfront, or making the payment to providers upfront versus being reimbursed after the fact, that the language had to change to match what is required. So the commissioner shall establish a payment schedule for the purposes of paying providers for full or part-time childcare services rendered to any families who participate in the program established under 3512 or 3513, that's the CFAP. The payment schedule shall ensure timely payment to childcare providers requiring payment in advance of or at the beginning of the delivery of childcare services. So that's consistent with changing reimbursement to payment. And then you'll see on the top of page 5 that change continues. All providers in the same childcare setting category shall receive a payment versus reimbursement in accordance with the rate established by the commissioner. And again, on line 5, changing reimbursement of payment. And then in subdivision 2, adding the language, payment shall be based on the child's authorized enrollment. I specifically remember asking about this when I was drafting, what does authorized mean? And it also, it has to do with when a child is determined eligible, the child has a set number of authorized hours, which is different from capacity. And that's the distinction that's being made here with that language. And that's it. Takes effect July 1, 2025.
Or
26.
on passage or something else, yes. So, questions for Katie, other questions for Katie on this? And we do have Deputy Commissioner McLaughlin is going to come in person. So she was just leaving Waterbury a few minutes ago. So so she'll be here a little bit earlier, but just checking in. If we don't have any questions for Katie, we'll go ahead.
So I don't, this might be a question for the next witness. Can you speak a bit more about authorized and you said capacity? Is it better than
Yeah.
that? Wait.
Yeah, that would be
Yeah, the right person to answer.
yeah. Thank you. All right, thank you, Katie. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
So Lori, we'll go offline for the next few minutes till we see